Well, today is Sunday, the 25th of February of the year 2024. It is 12:03 in the afternoon, and I've just completed all of the corrections for the proof of Why Am I Forever Unloved. I started this on the 13th of February and worked straight through, basically, for about maybe 12 days or so, maybe 13, I don't know. And I filled one and a half. Let's see, one and a half. Yes, one and a half pads of notes full of my corrections that I'm going to be making, that I'm going to put into the computer. And yes, those initials are intentional. And I understand that my writer friend Joseph Logsdon has been recently editing his book, The Ecstasy and the Ignominy, and that he's actually been having a very rough time with it. At first, I'll tell you here. At first, the chapters of this particular book were, they went by fairly quickly. They're fairly short and such and all that. Basically, chapters 1 through 19 are fairly short. I think the longest one is like 10 pages or something like that. But then once you get to about chapter 20 or 21, all of a sudden I sort of got it in my brain to make these chapters so ungodly long and full of scenes. And there are separations in the text. You can see there are separations in the text there. So you can have a break. But to be honest with you, it's just grueling to have to read through this again and again and again. Because let me tell you one thing. This book right here is probably the most difficult book I've ever had to write, not only because it was born out of catharsis, and I'll discuss that here at some point or other, but also because it's the one that I've revised the most and have had to reset to sort of match the original integrity of the actual work. And when I did that, I thought I would be done, and I just have to correct what little things were in here in this proof. When I was getting down to reading the proof, I realized that, oh my word, my process back then, when I was 17, 18, is a hell of a lot more different from what it is now at 24. Nowadays, I wouldn't dare to put something down had I not known that that would be the final draft of a sentence or whatnot. Usually it comes out of me fully formed. But back then, I think this is also mainly because I was working on it as I was in school or something or other, and I was under extreme stress during that time. I would just write in, one go in very large brushstrokes and whatnot, and I wouldn't care as to what words were down there and all that. And also at this time, I had no idea at all how to write a novel, and this was towards the period when most of my stuff was unintelligible, save to me. I was the only one who understood it, and everyone else was sort of kind of going along with it. And I was just using the biggest words that I could, and oftentimes I repeated words a bunch, maybe even in the same chapter. And I said to myself, Yes, I've preserved the original integrity of the voice that had written this, but at the same time, nobody's going to be able to understand this except maybe Ahab or Joseph Logsdon, and of course myself. So I basically what I had to do, I thought I would just take up maybe half of this. It turns out, as I said, I took up one and a half of these little notepads, just basically trying to make it more easy to read because the writing resembles most Henry James, to be honest with you, because I was very much into him at the time, and that sort of shows there. But I got all that done, and for me, I have no problems with consistency like Joseph Logsdon does, where he, comes up with a prophecy that he has to change because he didn't end up using it. For me, it's just, I got to make sure that this is understandable to the average reader. And back then it wasn't. So that's what I had to do there. A few updates on the manuscript. I initially said that I wouldn't be putting page numbers in this thing because I couldn't necessarily figure it out. That may no longer be the case because someone has actually taught me how to do it. This particular person knows who they are, and I very much thank you for that. And I'll be hopefully trying to experiment with that here soon. But also, one thing I'm going to think about doing is possibly updating the cover to where there's a question mark right there, and there's a question mark on the spine. Only thing is, when I created this cover 3 years ago on Canva, and I was an idiot and did not type in a question mark on there. So it was able to save the image, but not the font that I used. So I don't remember what this particular font is called, and not really sure if it really matters all that much. But what I did see is I have a mock-up of the cover that I'm thinking of using. And I want you to see if this font, this is Times New Roman, by the way, if that looks any different from that right there. And really, would it be that big of a deal if I were to replace that font there? So, that's it. I've made all the corrections I need to. I'm going to rest for the rest of the day and maybe tomorrow start typing it up onto the computer, entering in all my corrections, that is. And hopefully sometime this week I'll hit publish, and I'll let you know when that happens. But for now, I am going to lie down because I've just finished this unprecedented toil, and will prepare for tomorrow, in which I will be entering all these corrections into there. So that's how it's going. So thanks. This is another thing here that I was thinking about. Since this is an early work of mine, and I have since matured and grown exponentially as a writer since then, I was wondering whether I should perhaps amend the author name to Miles Knight Estrada, or if I should just leave it as Miles Estrada to basically make it seem as though it's emblematic of a time before my current status as a writer. I'm not entirely sure what to do about that. But let me know also what you think about that, and I'm going to go ahead and rest for the rest of the day.